Okay, the next step is going to be install the bypass hose for the water jacket. It connects from the back of the water pump to the bottom of the thermostat housing. The easiest way to do it is put a little bit of soapy water on the hose end. I say soapy water instead of oil because soapy water will evaporate away, and this is for a water jacket. Okay. Hose just slides all the way up to the shoulder. Honda uses a Corbin clamp at both ends. I strongly recommend sticking with a Corbin clamp at this end, because if this hose ever develops a leak and you're using a Corbin clamp, you can change this hose without disassembling the motor. It's not easy, but it can be done. Real quickly, the way to do it would be the air box would be out here. You would slide this long screwdriver through the hose, and it then goes all the way through the inner spigot, and that would align it. Then you would hold on to the screwdriver handle, push the hose, and twist. You'll be able to look right above the inlet pipe, and you'll see when it goes all the way onto the shoulder, if you ever have to change one of these in the field. The other end, you can use a Corbin clamp or a worm clamp. I go ahead and use a worm clamp on this end. Leave just enough hose so that you've got a nice progressive bend. Keep in mind that this is a bypass hose, so the flow rate under normal running conditions is not going to be extremely high, but until the thermostat opens, it'll be pretty strong. And again, I just used a little soapy water as a lubricant on the hose. I've got that hose just a little bit too long because it's touching the webbing right here, and that'll create a place for it to wear. So I'll shorten the hose up about 1/4 of an inch. So that it does not touch that block web. I'm going to face the screw for the worm clamp straight out the front. That way, if it ever needs to be changed, it can be changed in the field. That's the bypass hose. The next step, so I'm going to go ahead and put the intake in place. If you put the intake on now, you will have to bow the heat shield slightly as it slides into place on the back of it, because as the heat shield goes on, it'll catch right here and it'll just have to flex slightly. It is a very thin piece of sheet metal. bottom bolt on the intake manifold is actually a countersunk Phillips head screw. It can sometimes be a little trying when you're trying to remove them. I mentioned earlier that one of the seals that is not included in the gasket set is an intake elbow. That would be this seal here. It goes in this location. You cannot install the intake elbow until after the heat shield and the exhaust manifold have been put into place. So that won't be installed now. I'm just showing you this. Next item is going to be the drain plug with a new drain washer on it. It does not have to be torqued down very tight. More people over tighten them than under tighten them, because if it's leaking, they need to just replace the seal instead of over tightening it. I've seen a lot of people over tighten it and crack that housing that I was showing you earlier. Next step is going to be to pour some motor oil on the rocker arms, the camshaft, and the valves, so that it has lubrication under startup. As you remember, there is assembly lube in it. However, this is how it's going to be lubricated in the field. Pumps it up through this end, and it runs down through the oil return here. Next step, go ahead and put the valve cover gasket on. There's a small hole in the corner of the valve cover gasket. That's simply so the oil that's washed up between the valve cover and the valve cover gasket can get back down into the cylinder head and return through the oil return. It won't trap a significant quantity of oil if you do get that filled in with gasket sealant. But remember, when you do a valve adjustment later, you will end up with that portion of the oil all over you when you pull the valve cover back off. And it's only a few teaspoons full, but depending on where it lands, you may not like it. I'm going to go ahead and torque the valve cover down. Again, they're 6mm bolts. So, torque spec on those will be 10 Newton meters. And this is probably a good enough place to end this video.